Good afternoon, friends. Today I am going to discuss about mountain ecosystem, and the topic for the day is understanding mountain ecosystem issues and re-strengthening initiatives. Friends, you can see all kinds of medias, newspapers, electronic media, television, that's elaborating about the high pressure of population on mountain nowadays due to very intensive scorching heat in North India. Particularly the cities from Delhi, Chandigarh, Ambala, all the North Indian cities, Lucknow, Kanpur, Jaipur, people has rushed to the mountain, particularly the western Himalaya, covering all the way from Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir. These three states are now, and particularly because of Char Dham Yatra in Uttarakhand, along with the tourism, there is a worst condition of the traffic control, traffic management. Ultimately, Himalaya, we have to understand that it's not only a structure of the rocks, rather Himalaya is a abode of our faith, religion, health, and also the relationship. Himalaya, along with the Great Northern Plains, if you see carefully, the Great Northern Plains cover more than 60% of the population of India. And all these population directly dependent on Himalaya. So, every resources which are found on the Himalaya ultimately come downstream to the plain region, and people of the plain receive these resources, they have their livelihood, and in return people of the plain go for mountaineering, for visit to the mountain, and because of the people coming from the plain, there is a flow of money, flow of economy over the mountains. Friends, you can find one of the best example of highland-lowland interaction between the Himalaya and Great Northern Plains. Looking all these issues, Himalaya is the source of resources. It is a abode of resources, ample of resources on the mountain, on the Himalaya. Due to increase in the population, number of visits on the Himalaya, resources are depleting very fastly. Overexploitation of resources on the mountain. All these issues have created big challenges, a threat, vulnerability on the Himalaya, not by the local people, rather these kind of environmental issues which have emerged on Himalaya by the people coming from the plain region. Over concentration of population in the valleys and peaks of the mountains. Friends, if you look the mountain Himalaya, it is the best example of the sacrifice, sacred place. All kinds of good health and good wishes we get from the mountain. Mountain have clean air, mountain have fresh water, mountain have aesthetic beauties. All those things which make our life healthy, all these things available on the mountain. And it is the mountain, being a mountain, but it contains different kinds of ecosystem. If you visit in the mountain, there are large size of lakes. If you sit along the coast of the lake, bank of the lake, it feels that it is the coastal ecosystem. If you visit the interior of the Trans-Himalaya, like Leh, Ladakh, Lahaul Spiti region, there is a dryness, absolute dryness. You will find a desert ecosystem. And if you come to the height of 1000 to 2000 meter in the Himalaya, you find dense forest and you find a forest ecosystem. Over the mountain like Simla, Srinagar, Manali, Kullu, Dalhousie, there are a number of urban places. There is mountain urbanization and you find urban ecosystem. So, being a mountain, but it contains various kinds of ecosystem because of its resources. So, friends, we have to understand its importance, and time has come that every individual will have to take the responsibility to save the Himalaya. Friends, in this regard, you find this is the image photo of Himalaya, central part of the Asia, where you can see it is the only place after the North Pole and South Pole, third largest ice capped area. And this is the reason that Himalaya and the Trans-Himalayan region altogether known as third pole. The third pole theory has come from the Himalaya, and it is because of the ice, snow covered areas. Once the snow will melt down due to the process of ablation, the Himalaya will become empty. Many cultures will destroy. Therefore, it is now not only the responsibility of the government, responsibility of the intergovernment, but also it is the responsibility of every individual to save the Himalaya. If you see the image, the number of rivers draining out from Himalaya, and it's all the way rivers draining out in all the directions, north, south, east, west, all the directions as a centrifugal pattern. Rivers are draining out from mountain to the south, to north, to east and west, draining more than 50% of the population of the world. 50% of the population of the world surviving due to the water of the Himalaya. Therefore, in many references, Himalaya is known as human equator. Half of the world population surviving because of the resources of the Himalaya, directly water of the Himalaya. This is the reason that in many scientific lectures you will find that Himalayas are the highest water tower in the world. Supply water through the rivers in the plain region and the cultures. Say the Ganga culture. Ganga is not only river, Ganga is a culture, Ganga is a civilization, Ganga is a religion, Ganga is a faith, and Ganga is the life. So much population, it is the most densely populated plain in the world. It is affluent plain where the humidity increases, so the density of population increases. So there's large size of population surviving through the resources of the Himalaya. Now we come to the issues. All these resources, their utilization is good for mankind, but overutilization, excessness. Say Himalayas are abode of resources, they can fulfill all kinds of needs of the mankind, but Himalaya cannot fulfill the greeds of the people. Now the people has become greedy, imbalanced, uncontrolled, haphazard growth. Nowadays taking place in the Himalaya. And the result is obvious. You can see the result, that how destructions, vulnerability, hazards, risk, and finally disasters affecting the Himalaya ecosystem. These are all because of the over exploitation of resources and overpopulation in the mountain region. Earlier, say our forefathers, earlier there were human population scattered over the mountain, and they used their indigenous traditional knowledge, where to construct the house, where not, so that any kind of hazards cannot convert a disaster. They were able to mitigate because of their indigenous knowledge, traditional knowledge. But nowadays, if you see the constructions which are imposing, going on up to the riverbed. So if you construct a house in the riverbed, it's not the fault of the river that the house is destroyed. River has its own course. River has its own channel. So do not construct a house in the bed of the river, near the bank of the river. All these, the flash flood are the common phenomena of the river during the monsoon. The house will destroy. So that kind of disaster which are occurring on the Himalaya because of the overpopulation. People coming closer to the risk. When you come to the risk, you take your risk yourself, you are inviting the hazard, and finally the destruction taking place in the form of disaster. Nobody can forget the incident of 2013, Kedarnath Valley, Alaknanda Valley. It appeared, though we cannot use the term tsunami, but it used like wave, it was like a tsunami of the mountain. And the amount of tragedy, destruction, casualty that had taken place is all because the houses were constructed in the bottom of the valley. Friends, all these issues that we have to merge, and we have to understand Himalayan ecosystem services. Himalayan ecosystem services, how we can judge, how we can analyze the Himalayan ecosystem services. It is on the basis of the relief and physiography. Relief and physiography, drainage and geohydrology. Drainage includes running water, and when we talk about geohydrology, then it includes running water, also the underground water. So that's why it's used drainage and geohydrology. Vegetation and environment. So vegetation is an inherent part of environment. Environment may be without vegetation also, but if environment is with vegetation, so there is a livelihood, there is sustainability. That's why vegetation and environment. Then geographical basis of the federalism. Friends, Himalaya plays a key role in the geopolitics of India. Geopolitics of India, which is more concerned with the passes of the Himalaya, Himalayan boundaries, Himalayan frontiers, number of LOCs, number of LACs which are found on the Himalaya. So you can find all these systems which provide ecosystem services. We talk about relief and physiography, drainage, vegetation. All these in one term you can understand geomorphic languages of the Himalayan landscapes. Languages of the Himalayan landscape. So, what kind of languages? Geomorphic languages, hydrological languages, and these provide a complete analysis of understanding the Himalayan ecosystem. To understand the Himalayan ecosystem, you need to understand SAR analysis. They are called SAR. SAR analysis describes S stands for slope, A stands for altitude, and R stands for relief. So, slope, altitude and relief, it provides all kinds of economic, social, political, environmental uses of the landscape. You can see beyond the height of 4,000 meter, you will find snow line. You cannot find a single house, single village beyond the height of 4,000 meter. So, most of the villages, inhabitant villages found from bottom to the maximum of 3,000 meter, because after 3,000 meter is extremely cold, and after 4,000 meter is permanently covered with the snow. Therefore, relief and physiography play an important role in the landscapes of the Himalaya. And drainage. No civilization can survive without water. So, whether it is a mountain or plain, every civilization requires water, and for that Himalayan rivers, Himalayan springs provide a key component for the settlement development on the Himalaya. Vegetation and the environment. Vegetation on the mountain are the backbone of their livelihood. Vegetation in terms of forest, shrubs, grassland are the part of daily livelihood of the local people of the mountain. It is the way of survival. It is culture. It is society. Forest, grassland, shrubland, these are all known as CPR, common property resource, CR, common resource on the mountain, and the local livelihood of the people on the mountain depends on these common resources and common property resources. Friends, beyond that, geographical basis of federalism. See, the names of the states, districts, these are all based on the geographical basis. So, many states, which we can say the federalism, many states, federalism of many states depends on geographical basis. For example, Uttarakhand is a part of North India, it is called Uttarakhand. Himachal, Him means ice, Achal means partial. The Himachal Pradesh partially covered with ice, so called Himachal. Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, land of 5 rivers, valleys, Kashmir Valley. So, all these geographical basis of federalism one can find on the Himalaya, and passes. Passes are the key source of connectivity. Nowadays, because of progress in technology, enhancement in power, the tunnels are being constructed. Earlier, when the people were not aware about the construction of tunnel, safeguard of the tunnel, so these passes were the ultimate source of connectivity. And even today, passes of the Himalaya in Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh. All these states, these passes provide important connectivity to the neighboring countries, whether Pakistan, Afghanistan. You know, in the ancient time, Khyber Pass, Bolan Pass, they are so popular passes connecting to Central Asia with India, ancient India. Today you can find so many times that the passes, when they are filled up with ice in winter season, the movement of the traffic closed down. Therefore, Banihal, Burzil, Zozila, these are important passes, and they are not only important within the India, the intra-state, also interstate, intra-country and the inter-country. Similarly, come to Himachal Pradesh, part of Jammu Kashmir, Karakoram Pass, Niti, Mana, the Kungri, Bingri, Sipkila, so many passes which provide connectivity with India and China, India and Pakistan. So one side we have geopolitics, other side we have geographical basis of the federalism, and beyond that indigenous people. So we have to take care Himalaya from holistic perspective, so that the livelihood condition of the local people should not be affected by the outsiders. So within the Himalayan ecosystem you can find the population and society. Himalaya, society changes with altitude. If you come to the lower part of the valley, people are more and more, they are farmer by nature, because in the bottom of the valley there is more availability of water. Due to more availability of water, they are able to grow the crops. They grow rice, maize, vegetables. So more population in the valley, and as altitude increases, density of population decreases. And finally, when you come to the upper part of the top of the mountain, settlements become highly scattered. So you can find very unique distribution of settlement. Compact settlement in the bottom of the valley, semi-compact on the tableland, middle part, and is scattered on the top of the mountain. And that society is scattered because of extreme climatic condition, slope, the land is barren. There is very less fertility in the soil. Therefore, people rather depending on agriculture, crops, they depend on the animals. That's why nomadic herding, you must have heard Gujar, Gaddis, Bakarwal, Bhotia, Lepcha. These are the popular names of the community of the nomadic herders. They keep on goat and sheep rearing. So society, population and society also depends on the SAR analysis. So cultural and tourism potential. So Himalaya having a large area under the isolated society because of inaccessibility, because of marginality. There are large number of social needs. Those social needs are unique local traditional culture, and tourism on the mountain is not only the aesthetic tourism, not only the leisure tourism, also on the mountain there are large scale cultural tourism. People, indigenous people, local people, traditional people, they have maintained their ancestral culture because of inaccessibility. Therefore, there is a great potential of tourism development on the mountain. Particularly, mountain have all weather tourism. If you go to the winter season, people enjoy with the snow and glacier. We come to the summer season, people come for the good health and relief from the hot scorching summer of the northern plain. Then Himalayan ecosystem services provide energy and power potential. Friends, Bhakhra Nangal Dam, Tehri Development Hydropower Corporation, TSDC, so many thousands and thousands of the hydropowers developed all the way from Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, West Bengal, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Assam, Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya, all these states covering the northeast to the northwest, the great potential and having a large number of dams. Many dams you must have heard like BDS, Baglihar Dam, Dulhasti Dam, Salal Dam, they are all on the Chenab. Kisan Ganga project, Maleri project, Nathpa Jhakri project, number of projects providing high amount of hydropower to the people of the plain. So Himalaya is a source of power, and that power generated on the mountain distributed to the local people to sustain the highland lowland interaction. Finally, the Himalayan ecosystem services cover the agriculture and animal husbandry. Friends, agriculture and animal husbandry are the part of, symbol of local livelihood of the mountain. Apart from local livelihood of the mountain, agriculture and animal husbandry also one of the best example of highland lowland interaction. See, most of the crops which are grown in the cold climate, so cold climate found only on the Himalaya. Rest part of India where average temperature is beyond 20 degrees Celsius. As of today, 12th of June, see the temperature isotherm of India. So except Himalaya, rest of all parts of India having isotherm more than 30 degree, 33 degree, 40 degree, 48 degree. So cold agriculture, cold animal husbandry possible only on the Himalaya. Therefore, the cold along with humid, cold climate along with humid climate means it provide the snowfall, and the snowfall essentially are the prerequisite, precondition for the production of apple and saffron. Friends, you can see the best quality of apple in India comes from Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, partially Uttarakhand. See, the production of apple maximum in Jammu Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh, then Uttarakhand, because the western disturbances, amount of snowfall decreases from west to east. Therefore, production of apple decreases from west to east. So Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh together known as fruit basket of India. So almost 99% of the apple come to plain region from Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh. So people in the plain find round the year apple, the storage apple, that apple come from Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh. Similarly, animal husbandry, Gujar, Gaddis, Bakrwal, Bhotiyas, they are the supplier of the goats and sheep in the plain region. So on the time of eve of the Eid, Bakr Eid, you can imagine the number of goats and sheep, the high requirement, and all these nutritional requirement comes from mountain people. So the highland lowland interaction is very common in the reference of the mountain and the plain region. So these are the ecosystem which we have to understand about the mountain to plain. I will repeat once again, all these ecosystem services depends on relief and physiography, supported by drainage and geohydrology, which support the vegetation and the environment, that give the geopolitical base of the states and the interstate. Then it also affects the population and society, and the impact on the culture, provide the base for the tourism development. It is the source of hydropower, and it is the ultimate source of the fruits and vegetables in agriculture and the animal husbandry. All these services which are available from the mountain ecosystem. Friends, one side, these services which provide base for the livelihood of the local people, also the livelihood of the mountain people. But on the other hand, developmental works, uncontrolled developmental works, also creating risk, hazard to the community. And many of the hazards, disasters in the mountain, in the Himalaya, no doubt these are caused by natural phenomena, but these impact excessively imposed by the anthropogenic activities. Therefore, time has come to think, to act, educate, and make the people aware. So through education, through awareness, we have to make the people responsible for the conservation, renaturalization, re-strengthening the mountain ecosystem. Few case studies I would like to mention here to understand the SAR analysis, physiography and relief. Physiography and relief, how these physiography and relief are responsible to control the risk on the mountain, and these risks provide sensitization to the local people. Friends, the case study which I would like to share with you is the relief, physiography, drainage, and all these issues all together will superimposed to understand the kind of risk, hazard and vulnerability altogether. So you can see the map where the part of Himachal Pradesh and part of Uttarakhand are included in this map, and you find this is a drainage map. I would like to explain here the drainage map, which is showing the most of the major rivers of the central Himalaya, covering the Satluj Valley, its tributaries, and all these drainages are important drainages, not only supplying the water, but also these drainages are the ultimate source of the hydropower. And finally, the water of these drainages finally move to the plain region, which provide agricultural infrastructure. Now, I'll explain the genesis of these drainages. This river, you can see the major river and the tributaries of headwater region, and in the second map you will find these are the density of the roads, and third map you can see these are all the seismic tectonic structures. where these are major and minor faults. Now, you have to understand that look the direction of these faults. These faults were formed at the time of origin of Himalaya. Once these folds and faults emerged, you know very well that Himalayas are known as young fold mountain. So, upward movement becomes fold and the downward movement which synclines along with the ruptured, and due to rupturing it formed the fault, and these faults later on filled up with the rainwater, with the snow water. When these faults were filled up with the snow water, rainwater, and because of slope, because of gravity of the slope, the kinetic force, and water start moving in the form of river, in the form of drainage. So, now you can correlate the direction, situation, presence of these faults, and these faults now you can see filled up with the water, it formed the drainage. So, the origin of the rivers that took place in the faults and the slope of the faults, and finally from the higher region of the Himalaya to the lower region of the Himalaya, water drains out. Friends, very interesting thing is that you can find that when we construct the road on the Himalaya, we cut the slope. Roads are constructed by slope cutting, and most of the roads in the Himalaya are parallel to the river. So, now you can find three important components: fault lines, rivers, and roads, which are parallel to each other. Construction of roads, because of fault lines are the source of release of energy through the seismic tectonic movements. So, these are prone to earthquake. When these are prone to earthquake, because of landslide, earthquake, slope cutting, it gives origin to the landslides. That is why on the mountain maximum landslides occur along the roadsides. It does not mean that there is no natural landslides. There are large number of natural landslides also on the Himalaya, but maximum landslides occur along the roadside because of slope cutting. And one side is the slope, failure of the slope, upper side failure of the slope, downside is the river. So, you can understand the risk, gravity of the risk. You can understand the gravity of the hazard. That both the sides there is a risk on the up slope flow, on the down flow of the water. Therefore, the Himalayan region is also very severe landslides, hazard prone areas. These roads which are constructed along the river bank and all the way, whether go to the along the river Beas, you can find the Kullu Manali river, find the roadside National Highway 21, or you can visit to the Panch Prayag, Dev Prayag, Rudra Prayag, Karna Prayag, Vishnu Prayag, Nanda Prayag, all those Prayags you can find along the river Alaknanda. Roads and river Alaknanda are parallel. Similarly, come to the Kashmir Valley, or if you come to the West Bengal to Sikkim, we will find parallel roads are almost parallel to river Tista. So, anywhere. So, this parallelness of the fault line, river and the roads which increases the intensity of the risk and hazard. So, find the roadside and fault lines, then you find landslides. These are the sites prone to landslides in the central Himalaya, and you can superimpose the three maps, the fault lines, river and the roads, then you superimpose these landslides. All these landslides are parallel along the roadside, along the river, and you can see this is the exposed road. See the number of rills, number of gullies. Rills and gullies are parallel to the roadside. Now we can summarize the relief, slope, altitude. You can find here that this drainage along with the fault line and drainage, fault line and the roads, which are all parallel to each other, and along with the roadsides, along with the river side, along with the fault side, you can find the number of landslides. All these landslides are parallel to the roads and the river. Friends, because of the presence of human population along with the roadsides and the river side, the maximum number of casualties, whether it is natural or anthropogenic, occur along the river side and the roadside. This picture, you can see it is National Highway 21 before Manali, between Manali and Kullu, and you can see it is National Highway 21 and the exposed road and then number of rills and gullies which are hanging over, they are posing risk, and you can see there is a truck on the road. Imagine what will be happen when rather truck there is a bus, and inside the bus there are 60 to 70 people. You know, in India, buses in the mountain region are filled up, is overcrowded. So, the number of people traveling in this bus. So, what will happen? And it happened that in 1995, same place in the 1995, there was severe landslide and 60 people buried alive near Kullu. And it happened because of exposed slope cutting roadside. See, now you can compare. Look this map. Above the road is the exposed slope cutting. Down the road is a river. It is river Byas downside. So, kind of severity, kind of risk and hazard is really very high in the mountain ecosystem. And sometimes nowadays during summer season, nowadays you can see the traffic jam, and you can count the number of cars, vehicles stand up because of landslide, and you can understand the crowd, the pressure of population on the mountain, especially during summer season, during May and June. It happened almost throughout the Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, because of nearness to Delhi, nearness to Chandigarh, these are worst affected by mountain tourism. Friends, these lines keep on going. Now you can see, if you look carefully in this picture, you can find the zigzag roads and the piling up of the cars one over the other. All these vehicles are standing up. It goes over more than 10 to 15 kilometers of the traffic jam on the mountain. And these pressure of tourism, you can understand during summer season all the way. This is Solang Valley of Himachal Pradesh. These mountain aesthetics which attract the tourism, and tourism must be under control. It should be controlled tourism, under planning. And there is a contradiction between the local indigenous livelihood and tourism based economic development. This is the tradition, local livelihood, where people survive with their animals and agriculture. This gentleman carrying fodder for his animals, it looks like a tree along the roadside, but it's not a tree, it is a man carrying fodder to his animals. And see, this is the true sense, this is the reality of the mountain life, household livelihood from the forest, from the common property resources. Forest used for fodder, fuel, fertilizer, fiber and food. 5F from forest. This is the livelihood of the local people, which is based on the forest resources. On the other side, you can see the livelihood versus economic development. This is a Uttarakhand, Tiri Garhwal district, Pratapnagar block. You can see the local livelihood of the people based on these forest resource, fodder and fuel carrying by the women. And they protect their forest. They use their forest in a judicial manner so that their livelihood cannot be affected. And from generations and generations, these people are using the forest without degradation of the forest. On the other hand, this is Himachal Pradesh, Manali region. See, this is the Manali town, this photograph of 1994. And the cutting of trees of the Gulaba forest, construction of houses on slope, onward, all these affecting the mountain ecosystem. So, this is kind of uncontrolled haphazard urbanization, hyper urbanization, and these hyper urbanization had destroyed the forest mountain ecosystem. Now time has come that every individual have to think broad and have to act with responsibility, with the slogan, think globally, think nationally, but act locally. Every individual have to take the responsibility to conserve, and there are many good initiatives taken by the government, central government, state government, Himalayan mission for conservation of the Himalaya. Ministry of Environment and Forest started Himalayan mission for conservation. So many international projects coming up to protect the Himalaya. Thanks to Switzerland government along with the government of India, Himalayan conservation project, HCAP, projects between government of India and government of UK. All these projects are supporting to renaturalize, to re-strengthen the Himalayan ecosystem. And one of the best example is the watershed management in Uttarakhand, particularly known as Chal Khal project. Chal Khal project, which is the indigenous name, arresting water at source, channelizing the water, the underground water, regenerating the geohydrology through the pits. And there are many people who are source of inspiration for the other people, particularly the mountain context. I would like to mention the name like Chaudhary Jagat Singh Jangali, Gochar village of Himalaya, Uttarakhand, Chamoli district. Similarly, in the Dudhatoli range, say Sachidanand Bharti, there are people who have created awareness with hard work and re-strengthening, renaturalizing the ecosystem services of the mountain. Mountain people of the mountain, people of the plain cannot survive without water, without forest. Friends, these initiatives have been taken to re-strengthen and see the number of the pits which is filled up and water rechannelized. So, afforestation, conservation of water, filling the pits, all these parameters are taken by the central government, state government, local people. Therefore, now along with the movement, so every person who are going to visit Himalaya, they must conserve the beauty of the Himalaya, aesthetics of the Himalaya, water of the Himalaya, air of the Himalaya, and everyone, those who are on the mountain, those who are because of mountain living in the plain, everyone have taken the oath to save the Himalaya. Thank you very much.